you guys, we are back, and since so this is Tai Chi, not live but fairly current from the dojo in Tucson, Arizona, and I'm Carlos, and you are my wonderful regulars, and if someone new is watching this, welcome to you too. Since the last video, it's turned into winter, so I can wear long sleeves, and maybe you can see my arms and my hands a little bit easier. When we're doing our form, we've been starting to practice or look a little more closely at the form in each video, and I'm showing you, I'll have the number of the movement in the video, so if you need to review. And it's more important to pay attention to, you know, left arm, right arm type of stuff. So hopefully you can see my arms easier. It's hard to figure these things out on video because sometimes things are reversed. And anyway, we're loosening up. But it's gotten cold here, yeah. So we don't have to worry about the dojo air conditioning. We need to think about heating, but heating will also coop us up inside. Heating means less airflow, so I'm not thrilled about that, you guys. If you want to start practicing in the park now that it's not so hot, let me know. I'm totally willing to do that. And if I don't hear from anybody, if you guys are shy or you don't know how to reach me, I will send out a poll one of these days, thinking about getting us out in the park again. Because working on the form is really hard without corrections. Okay, so let's see, we have to do our standard warm-up. Let's do some shoulder rolls. Steve has been helping me show you how to do these movements, and you don't know how hard it is to do these movements, the two-person form movements, without any physical feedback. It's purely visual, and mostly it's a combination of visual and your own imagination, right? And so Steve is doing his form almost intuitively because he's been doing it so long. So when I break it down, it's very difficult. So big thanks to Steve for showing that to us. But it's hard to show this to you guys. So believe me, I understand. If you're struggling with looking at these movements of the form, don't worry about it. And if you're not really that interested in learning the form, then remember, all Tai Chi is Qigong, which means, let's do our neck, look up and down, which means you can just be appreciating these little movements as Qigong and not as a martial art, not as a as a part of a larger form. You can just do them and just appreciate how it makes you feel and the beauty of the movement and how it makes the energy move through your body. That's what Qigong is. That's one of the main differences, okay? Let's look side to side. Okay, so no stress about learning the form. And we're going to review and review and review and review. So we're not going to steamroller through. So today we're just going to look at the second movement, and then we're going to review the ninth. We're not even going to go on to the 10th. Another weird thing about this form is that it's very hard to just look at one movement, to isolate one movement when you're doing it with two people, because they don't end simultaneously. So like 9B sort of ends a little bit after 10A is already commencing, right? So it's hard to chop it up. It's very hard to chop it up. So I realize all these things. I know the challenges that you face as learning. Look straight ahead, tip the head from side to side. So I appreciate it's not easy, but it's worth it. Once you learn the form, it's yours. It's like you own something. You can do it anywhere, anytime. No video needed. I'm not necessary. You can do it out in beautiful parts of nature. Oh, that's right. I have to record the form out in the desert. Next time I get out to the desert, I promise you, I'm going to do that for you. And I may even, let's massage our neck and shoulders. Also, I can do it in such a way, I know where now, from working with Steve, I know exactly where to stand so that you can always see me, okay? So that'll be helpful too. Because when we did it in class, someone was always craning their neck, looking over their shoulder, but there is a way to reduce that. You can't eliminate it completely, but you can reduce it. All right, excellent. So let's do, we haven't done our largest teacup exercise in a long time. I'm going to turn sideways. We can do it from multiple angles. So I got my cups of tea. I'm going to offer the tea behind me. So we're barely warmed up, you guys. So be careful when you do this. I'm going to come out to the side. Okay. Around in front. Lean back if you need to. Nothing wrong with that. And then back to where we started from. All right, breathe freely. So, what I want to encourage you guys to do is you don't need to warm up before class probably, but you could meditate a little bit before class, right? Because I hesitate to do that on a video, just sort of stand here with the camera rolling. So can we do this the other way? Sure we can. Forward. I'll face sort of obliquely, forward out to the sides, up and around, and then and back, forward. So what I was saying, oh yeah. So if you could meditate a little bit, whatever that means for you, that's enough. That's good. Then they've done studies, and they say that calm learners learn more. So they didn't, and this had nothing to do with Tai Chi. This is an educational study, and if people just calm themselves and relax, they can absorb an incredible amount more information than they could. And difficult information like language learning. So let's do Heavenly Girl Scatters Flowers. It's one of the few side stretches we know. So now, if you don't want to do it as a balance, we just go over to here. It's sort of like holding a large circle. We can go over to the other side. So we haven't done anything yet differently with our right arm and our left arm really, but just for the record, in case I forget to mention it later, the orange hand is my right hand, yellow is my left. Okay, so I'm going to add the balance next time I go over. Hope you can see my feet. I'm just going to step behind a little bit. My foot, sole of my foot is up, or you could just touch your toes. Touching the toes is probably more formal. Just try a little bit. But as I tell my yogis, you don't want to lose your balance in the middle of a side stretch, you guys. If you pull some of that little connective tissue, it's very painful and it'll take a long time to heal. It doesn't do any permanent damage, but it will ruin all the Christmas hugs that you get from your kids and your grandkids. It will also ruin every joke that you try to laugh at. So all the wonderful things of life will be ruined. And then if it's severe, every time you inhale, you'll get a shooting pain. So don't do this. It's not worth. Or if you lost your balance, just relax. That's our Tai Chi principles. That's the real. So the real lesson is to underdo this. But if you even think you're losing your balance, just relax and just dissolve. Okay, so that's the real lesson, right? And do that for every balance. Okay, so how about, so this set is going to have horses in it, right? We'll do as many horse movements as we can come up with, or as many as we can fit into this hour. So let's do one from the 8 Brocades. This is King rides his horse with fiery eyes. And if you're saying you do the 8 pieces of silk and you've never seen a king riding his horse with fiery eyes, it's just the punches. It's the punches. But we're not doing them, and as this name indicates, we're not doing them as punches. This is almost certainly, as we went over in the archery set, this is almost certainly a king riding his horse. So this is horse riding stance. So remember horse riding stance? It's one of the few stances that we have which is double weighted, as they say. The feet in this case are parallel. I'm going to violate that rule later in the class. But feet are parallel, and you have to turn them in, and then when you turn your feet in, you can feel this like you're sitting on a yoga ball or something like this, right? So remember, it's in the 8 Brocades, it looks very much like a karate class, right? We're not doing it that way, no. This is a king, an archer, and he's shooting straight, okay? This is not recommended. They usually shoot, so mounted archers usually shoot sideways, right? That way, okay, so, and I think in our archery set, we got a little fancy with our grips and how we were holding our bow, how we were holding our string. This is just loose fists, okay? Loose fists with the thumb up, okay? No big deal, you guys, no big deal. Don't worry about it. This is just a really good, this is one of the Qigong that is primarily stretching. Remember, I tend to divide or look at the Qigong as doing usually tending towards one of 3 things. 1, stretching. 2, strength. Okay, so we are strengthening our legs for sure, right? But I say it's primarily stretching. And then some that don't use strength and don't use stretching, and that is energy work. And those are the most special movements. Also the most subtle. But we're just trying to warm up here, okay? If it's cold where you're at, like it's cold where I'm at, it's freezing here. I think in the last video it was 110. If we may have had one video in the fall, and now we're in winter. All right, that's enough. Okay, great. I hope that was enough for you. If not, just back the video up, you guys. There's you could make a case to say that we don't need to review these movements of our form, because you could just back up the video or watch another video again, but no. In the classroom setting, we review everything, and I think it's good. Okay, so if we're doing too much review, watch the next video or fast forward. Okay, so parting the wild horse's mane. This is a really neat one. I've been telling you guys forever that in Tai Chi and perhaps in China in general, there's this blurring of subject and object. So in this case, this is a classic case of that. Some people call this parting the wild horse's mane, which means you're doing something to a horse, right? And just to show you before we do it, so in our form, it's we go from here, and we do it several times in the form. Step back, now we're ready. Okay, and this is parting the wild horse's mane. To do it from the other side, we would step in. It's often done several times. Come out. It's classic Lieh or splitting. To review, splitting is oppositional forces in the body, and the backward movement is not robbing from the frontward movement. The backward movement is multiplying the front movement. So it's not 50% back, 50% forward. It's, pick a number, 50% back, 120% forward. So, and if I could show you, if I could demonstrate with you, I would. And I'm not going to slip a video clip in here either. There's no, nobody's pushing on my arm anymore, not even Steve. What else can I tell you about this? Before we go on, I've also told you in the past, there's several things that look like this, and not to freak out about them. They're all fairly similar. I'm talking about ward off or pung. I've also told you about diagonal flying. I've also told you about grasping the sparrow's tail. They're all similar pung exercises, but there are little differences, and the little differences just make your form more fun to do, gives you more variety. So in this case, so let's just say that parting the wild horse's mane, we're always going to hold a ball beforehand, as opposed to diagonal flying, where we might blade our hands and then do diagonal flying. So let's just say that maybe it's an arbitrary rule, maybe they do it differently in another school. Okay, so that's diagonal flying. I'm a robot today. And then parting the wild horse's mane will be from holding a ball. Okay, so let's just say that. And then grasping sparrow's tail, I think you tend to have the hand at the wrist, and then you'd combine it with some other movements. All right, anyway, enough. So getting back to this subject and object, this is really neat. I showed you this idea of doing something to a horse's mane, right? Parting it. I don't know, horse people, I don't know if that's even done. But what if we are the horse? Okay, so what if this is the horse's mane here, and going from side to side is parting their mane. So let's just try it. So either one might be true. Let me tell you something else. If it's parting the wild horse's mane, because I looked at the Chinese characters, right? and or the use of the language in Chinese. If it's parting the wild horse's mane, wild horses, that character also means mist, right? It also means chi. It also means like foggy mist rising off of a lake. And so there's this idea of parting this mist. It's a very beautiful image. But if it is wild horse parts its mane, if we are the horse, parting the mane is actually, in Chinese archery, parting the mane is another archery technique. It is if this is my center line, parting the mane would be to shoot obliquely across my center line. So in King Rod's Horse with Fiery Eyes, we were going right down our center, right? More or less. But parting the mane in Chinese archery is a little bit more obliquely. And again, it's this idea of something like that. Does that make sense? And then in the old archery text, they say that this oblique firing across the neck is like very showy and not used by border guards or border patrols. So again, the military shooting is if my horse is here, I'm going to shoot there. Okay, enough. Let's do this as an exercise, okay, before we start to get cold again. Okay, so, and again, this is often done on both sides, right? So this is perfectly consistent with, for instance, the yang long form. So let's just start by holding a ball with my right hand on top. I'm going to step the left foot out, just turn, and then sort of pivot back. And we can just, if you want to know exactly where, in this particular case, just think shoulder height, hip height, right? And why is that easy to remember? Because the shoulder and the hip are sort of like, the shoulder is the hip of the upper body, or the hip is the shoulder of the lower body. So where were we? Here. And then to switch sides, just hold the ball, step in, step out, just like that. And so I'm trying to, so thinking about the classic yang form, I'm trying to stay nice and vertical, right? But what did I just tell you is that the horse is kind of flipping around, right? And in I think in Wu style we might lean a little bit, you know. So I don't know what to tell you guys. If you lean a little bit, just to feel it, right? So, and sometimes there is even a back component to this, where somebody, in terms of the application, it might not be somebody directly in front of you. It could be somebody circling around, and you can actually kind of hit with your back a little bit. I can't remember who. I think that's a Michael Phillips thing. All right, so that feels nice. That's enough. If you want to do more, back up your tape. How about let's see. All right. Here's a really cool thing. Now I'm going to tell you, I am not an expert in Chen style Tai Chi. I'm not an expert in any Tai Chi, right? But you could say so. But Chen is different than Yang in a lot of ways. Okay, so first of all, their archery stance is going to be wider and deeper if you can manage it. Look at my feet are splayed out to the sides. This is to make it so you don't have to do too much pivoting, because we're going to go side to side. And then watch this. This is so cool. This hand is facing up. This hand is facing towards you. And I'm going to just slightly shift over, push this hand towards you, that hand out. Wow, it's just a completely different feeling, okay? Don't shift over yet, get ready. This hand this way, this hand towards you. Oh man, it's really great. And it feels, it's like not like what we're used to doing at all. Okay, so shift over. I'll bet this I shouldn't be, I probably shouldn't lean so much, I'm sorry. I would love to try this with the second person. I'm sorry, I should. See, I don't do Chen style that much, so I forget. Okay, so here. So this palm up, this palm out, it's shift over, and then everything opens, right? Boy, I am leaning over on this side, unless it's something with this. Yeah. All right, let's try it again. Well, we're all learning, okay? So, all right, so shift, yeah. Okay, and then let this hand extend as a function of opening everything out. So opening everything out. I caught myself in the mirror, kind of just sticking my arm out. Very bad, very bad, very bad. All right, let's see if we can get this a little better on this side. So, great. I need to underdo, but Chen is big movements. This one feels great. Yeah. One more time on this side. All right. I don't know why. For some reason I'm leaning on this side and not on that side. Oh well, we do the best we can. I could re-record it, but I'd rather you see me messing up, because then everyone messes up, you guys. How about another horse? High pat the horse. Here is another case of subject and object either being confused or blurred together. And the reason why I'm not saying one is right and one is wrong is because it's funny, they both can be true. So high pat is this. So in our form, we may as well just do it the way we do it in our form, okay? Because that way you'll remember it. So we are diverting. So we're diverting, and then pre-pivot that foot to the right, and then they come around to here, and it's a sort of a strike here, a guard here, and then a knee strike here. So this will obviously be our balance of the day. And to go to the other side, we don't do it in the other side, but we just may as well. Okay, look at this, comes around. I pre-pivot my left foot left, and then come around 90 degrees. See, that was 90 degrees. Let me show you again. I'm not sure if you can see me, so you can release. I'm going to come back a little bit further. So these are 90-degree turns we're going to be making, okay? So I'll start facing this way. So it's just this circle, divert in a circle, no big deal. Pre-pivot the front foot before you turn around, please. And 90 degrees. Okay, other side. Spiral. So I'm about to tell you something really interesting. Spiral around and boom. Just so we're clear, same hand and knee. This is the top hand, is the same knee, right to right. Now, left hand and left knee up. Okay? Okay, so what I want to tell you is this violates one of our main rules. It's not really violating it, it's kind of violating it, of the idea that all movement is originating here. For me, I really feel this movement being generated by this hand, and everything is following this hand around. You know, can you feel that? I mean, you could, it's just where you put your mind, right? And it's also, but there's more to it than the mind. When you begin to twist one of your arms, the connective tissue links up, and if it's the right type of movement, everything can really follow. So remember, there are different schools of thought. Some say Qi follows the eyes, some say Qi follows the hands, and some say the waist is the commander, meaning everything follows the waist. So this is definitely a hand movement, and in this, I can even isolate it down to the thumb. So let's try this again on the left side. So this is not the side in our form, but thanks for indulging me. So it's the thumb leading, spiraling around. Look at that, and then the foot mimics the hand, and then the right hand just comes around. Boom. This is a great movement, you guys. There's a lot going on here. You can set that foot down on the heel. Okay, the thumb starts to spiral. Look at that, my foot can't help but also pivot around, and then this hand comes around and the knee comes up. I hope you're not struggling with the balance, because I don't want to distract you from the beauty of this move. Let's do it again. The thumb is spiraling around, the foot follows suit. Okay, how about one more time if you can see me? My right hand, the thumb commences, and my foot follows. I feel a really strong connection between my hand and my foot, and then this left hand comes over. Yeah, excellent, excellent. So what I was saying before is classic interpretation, or where this came from, is feeding a horse. You got your grain or your carrots, and then you pat the horse, high pat the horse. All right, fine. I think it's a little too simplistic. The other, remember we looked at the Chinese character before, and there's something about the character that relates to a mounted archer. So we're back with archery, and back with a horse, somebody highly riding a horse. But then there's just this idea that this looks like a horse. This shape, it looks like a prancing horse, doesn't it? It does. So maybe all three are true. Okay, great. So let's see maybe we're almost up to our break, possibly. Yeah. So let's take let's take a little break. Remember, those of you who are practicing the form, you're going to practice the form without looking at the video, with press pause, and then see how far you can get, see if you generate questions in your mind, see if you want to look at something when we do, if you forget which foot is forward or which hand is forward. And then we're going to go, when we come back, we're going to go over 2A and 2B, and then we're going to review 9A and 9B, and yeah, so maybe I'll show you Steve and I doing the form. If we do more than 9, don't worry about it, or if we do more than 2, we'll review it next week for sure. So take a little tiny break, and then I will see you shortly. Thank you very much. Welcome back. All right, here we go for a little form study. As I may have mentioned, if you're not really working on your form, just feel how these movements of our form, they just feel really good. Just like any Qigong that we would do. So you don't have to memorize them. Remember, all Tai Chi is Qigong. It all feels good, it's all good for you, regardless of the application, regardless what came before, regardless of what comes next. Each individual movement has its own integrity as its own movement, and it's good for a different, each movement's good for a different part of your body, different part of your brain. So last week we did the first move and the 9th move. Yeah. And with a little bit before, a little bit after. And this time we'll do the second move and the 10th move, 9th and 10th, something like that. And we'll just go nice and slow. And the movements blur into each other, remember, because they don't have a perfect stopping and ending. The A's stop is halfway into B's beginning. So it's hard to stop, especially since you want to find out what happens next. So if you remember, let's start with the A. Remember and then we'll do the form after this. Okay, so we came here. So let's start with, if you never learned any applications or no intentions, another way to express applications are intentions. If you didn't do it, it would be like this, and we can just do this together. So it would just be this, woo, this hand comes up, and this comes out, and this comes around, and this comes up like butterfly wings, and then this just floating, not doing anything in particular. Okay, and that's beautiful, and the energy flows. And remember, the flowing energy matches the intention. These are not separate, these are together. So, but we know that this has an intention. We learned it last week. And this has an intention here. Okay? This hand needs to reset, come around, and join the other one. So we follow the energy. Always follow your energy. And then the hands cross. This has a intention. It's not just pretty butterfly. And then as the hands come up, the little half step forward. And then this beautiful energy here. This definitely has an intention. This definitely has an intention. Leave this here. So before it went woo, but now leave it here because it's guarding us, right? That's the intention. So and we would come back. I think next week we'll come back to here. But so just do it another time from the other side, seen from the other side. So we remember that we step out, this comes up. This is this little strike here, or rangefinder. We come through, this is our punch. This hand's not doing anything now, so this can just come around. This is 7 stars, reach up to touch the 7 stars of the Big Dipper. And we are nudging our partner's hand up. And we step through. And we're going to punch here again, but we have to leave this here because this is contacting our partner's hand, right? And this is protecting us from their attack. And so technically it might even be up at the level of our head, right? But here, just to protect our eyes is good enough, right? And this can be anywhere in here or higher up, however you want to do it. So let's do it one more time, and then I'll show you what the V side is doing. Change sides, or I'll come straight at you this time. Okay, so we go here, and then there. 7 stars. And then we call this carry hammer. Looks like you're carrying a hammer at Home Depot. And then the next move will come back into white crane. So the B side, they're stepping toward us, so we step our right foot back. They punch, so we come underneath it and entwine around it in dragon pose. Okay, so they do 7 stars and nudge our hand up out of the way, and then they punch. So we do single whip. We intercept that punch and hook it with this hand here, and pulling it to the side just enough pushes our right hand forward at the level of the eyes. Luckily they have a hand underneath it, right? So this again, like Qigong, this single whip, it's a beautiful movement. It's one hand, the left hand, the yellow hand circling, hooking, moving to the side, the right hand coming straight at the, so I'm going to go straight towards my eyes. You can use your body as a reference for your partner's body if you're not practicing with a partner. So see, I'm going straight for my eyes. And this is similar to that Chen movement that we were doing. Two different planes of movement. So this is to the side, and this goes out. This to the side, this goes out. So we may as well talk about our pivoting, because we're circling the body, but we're pivoting as if on a vertical axis. So where is that axis? Okay, so there's more controversy. Some people say that axis that we're pivoting on is the spine. Other people say the axis is just behind the spine. Other people say that it's the center of your body. If your body is rounded, it could be right down the middle of your body. So let's look at this. I'll keep doing single whip. Look at my zipper on my jacket here. It's moving from side to side. So that means that the pivot point is not here. Because if the pivot point was here, it wouldn't be moving at all. Now I just changed my pivot point. You guys, you can change your pivot point anywhere you want. Remember in push hands, somebody pushes me here, my pivot point's here. If they push me here, my pivot point becomes here. Right? They push me here, my pivot point there. I can pivot anywhere I want. I can even pivot in a mythical spot completely off to the side of me, right? So it's not here because that's going from side to side. What is it behind me? Look at that. Am I pivoting here? So, whoa, no way. This thing's moving all over the place. So it's not back here. So it must be somewhere between these 2 points. Okay, maybe down through the crown of the head, down to the tailbone, possibly, because the spine's doing all kinds of stuff, right? So we're only envisioning it as being straight. But for a good circular movement, you do want to think about where your pivot point is. We could change hands just for fun. Have the right foot back and okay, so see how my yellow hand now is primarily forward and back, and my orange hand is primarily circular. It's circular, but the power is going to have to be to the side, otherwise it's not going to work. All right, great. That's enough of that, I think, because it's early in the form, so we review this all the time. But I want you to make sure that this is a whole body movement. What is not a whole body movement? Doing it with my arms. Okay, now I'm doing it with my body, okay? Exaggerate it if you need to, please. I really hope you get this, okay? And remember, if somebody, or you know, you don't need another person here. So if I'm going like this, and I stop this movement, then this movement stops also. Or if I go, so that's how you can tell if it's whole body movement. Because if this is still doing its thing, then you can tell that it's not a whole body movement. These are little tricks to train you into the whole body movement, right? And remember, the beauty of it is I'm trying to explain these things to you. I think if you were in a ballet class where they need whole body movement, I think if you didn't display it, they would kick you out. You'd be through. But Tai Chi is very patient and tries to teach the unteachable. I think this is grace. We're teaching grace. If in other disciplines, if you don't have grace, you're done. You're just done. But we're breaking this down. And action. Okay, so welcome back. We have Steve again. We're demonstrating the A side and the B side. We're going to do movement number 2, but we're going to start from 1 again so you can see it. And I'm A, Steve is B. And so first we bow. And the very first thing that we're going to do is I'm just going to step out. And we said this is a rangefinder. Steve steps back, but he does nothing because we were saying that this is sort of demonstrating the pacifist roots of Tai Chi, where Steve is exploring just retreating and doing absolutely nothing, which you should always consider, right? You can maybe retreating is always your best option, but now it's not an option because I'm going to step through and punch, and he's going to come into dragon pose. So imagine our wrists touching. And he's deflected my punch off to the side, just enough. Okay, so now I circle around. This is reach up to touch the 7 stars of the Big Dipper. You won't find this in the form list because this is implied. But I'm trapping his hand, okay? And then as I nudge his hand up out of the way, I take a half step up. And then the left hand is holding his hand where I want it. I step through and I punch. Now, he's going to do single whip, so he's moving this out of the way and is simultaneously jabbing at my eyes. So I would nudge his hand up and prepare for the next move. Excellent. Thank you very much. See you on the next video. Okay, let's do 9 and 10. Okay, so if we start with 8A, inspect horse's mouth. I think we did this last week. I hope so. We have a punch coming in right at our center, and instead of coming back to here, we do the unthinkable. We step right into it. Okay, we blade our body. So let's say the punch is coming in right along the center line. Okay, so I sidestepped it, and I guarded myself with my arms for sure. And now we have to do a little bit of stepping. So I stepped in. I had to do a zigzag step. You want to be behind your partner because this forearm strike, you can trip them over your leg. It's a good strike all by itself, but to make it more like judo is cool too. Okay, so they're going to step back and then do inspect horse or the parting the wild horse's mane. So then this comes up. So they are grabbing me right now, possibly, and but then they sort of let go. I'm gonna ride this up. They let go so I can come in underneath here. And then push through my open big. So I'm hitting them right under the arm in the ribs, okay? So what they're gonna do, By the way, I could be hanging on to them too to intensify this strike. So, but that's my downfall, because if I'm hanging on to them, they hang on to me. And the next move we'll see is they'll drag me down. Ugh. Okay, so let's go through that one more time from this side. Okay, how my footwork wasn't reversed there before. Inspect horse's mouth, step in, step out, step in, step out. Here, here, this is just a nice circular movement. So let's go back to here. Here, up, out. One more time. Here, up, out. And we won't do this on the other side. It would be too confusing. I'll come straight at you, and then we'll see what the B side does. Inspect horse's mouth, right hand up, right foot forward, step in, step out, step in, step out, boom, and then up, under, boom. I grab them, I've got them, but then they have me, they drag me down, and I'll show you next week what happens then. Okay, so enough of that. The B side is, so they're doing the inspect horse's mouth, which is fingers in my eyes, right? So I nudge their elbow up and punch, right? So they come in and step behind me. We just did this. They step behind me, and then I have a forearm approaching me, right? So how am I going to block this? I could block with this hand, right? But I'd rather block with the hand that's the closest, that can just ride up. I'll take a little half step back. So if they're behind me, I'm going to step in and around them, right? Good. So I step around them, hold a ball. So this is a implied white crane. Step back. And I'm hanging on to them now, but it can be good for them or bad for them. Anyway, so I'm ready for parting the wild horse's mane. I'm just going to sort of go up to here. This hand ends up in their ribs or at the otherwise known, if you're solo form, it's just at the height of your shoulder. This hand ends up down at my hip. Okay, couple applications, I can just be going bam, like bam, like that into their ribs. Or some people say no, this is, I'm holding their arm at the elbow and breaking it. So bam, pow, right? So either way, or the arm is up under the forearm, bending the elbow back, and I can shove them. I can control their whole arm instead of breaking it at the elbow. So these are just horrible applications. I don't want to ruin your day. Remember, you can be doing this as beautiful Qigong. Don't even have to think of these terrible, mean applications. Okay, so what do? Remember, they ride this up, okay, to avoid it, and then they do fan through the back or push through mountains. So they're coming here. So problem being, though, is they grabbed my arm, so I can just as easily grab their arm and step back. Just actually, it's a change step, and drag them down, the big rollback. So it's a change step if you do it slow. Well, why do I say change step? Because normally we would step back. And like I showed you, like in Aikido, they'd step back and keep stepping, right? But normally we would step way back. In this case, it's a change step. So this step comes forward, And in full speed, it's a jump, right? So it's like a little hop. So the result is, instead of dragging them around, they end up right in front of us. So I'm here, I go to here. If you don't get the change step, don't worry about it. But I'm just saying it's not like a huge step back, right? We wind up sort of facing them, right? They're right in front of us now. And that will translate into the next move. So that's enough of that. Let's move on. We'll review all this stuff. All right, action. We're back, and this is Steve again. I am me. We're going to do the 9th and 10th movements, okay? And we may go back a little bit further. If you remember, and so I'm going to be in inspect horse's mouth, and Steve pushes my elbow up and then punches, and I deflect that down. I step around. My stepping footwork is not going to be exactly correct because we need to keep our distance. So I step behind him, and then I do pluck and rend. He rides that arm up, and he's doing parting the wild horse's mane. I push that up, and I do push through mountain. He pulls this arm down and drags me down. That's as far. I know you want to know what comes next, but that's as far as we go. Okay, let's do that one more time. Okay, so I'm here. I strike. He pushes that up. I nudge that out of the way, and I can be grabbing this arm if I want. If I can, I go here. He does parting the wild horse's mane. I deflect that up and do push through mountain. He pulls that down. Okay, great. And so little minutia. We don't need to re-demonstrate it, but when me grabbing onto him allowed him to grab onto me. That's the only way he was able to pull me down. And this is one of those times when Tai Chi is sort of showing us what not to do. It's instructing us on the dangers of being too grabby, because if I grab him, he can grab me. So in a perfect world, but if you had two perfect Tai Chi practitioners, then nothing would happen. It would be an endless stalemate. So it's part of the form. It shows us what not to do. But that's it. That's basically it. And you can rewind it a little bit. And I'll show you a version probably. Well, you've already seen the solo version, but there might be another version I can show you. But thank you very much. Thank you, Steve. So let's do. Let's see. Was there anything else I wanted to tell you about that? No, I think. Let's actually demonstrate it now. So the first thing we do, one other thing about single whip. Whip, okay, in the classical yang form, single whip looks something like that. And the action of this hand makes you think that has this fluid, like, right? And maybe it does, but ours does not. Ours is much stiffer. This is the whip. And if you look at the Chinese characters, it's not a leather whip like we have in the American West, in the cowboy movies. A whip is like a crop, like a riding crop. So it's not this whoosh. It's I mean, it does have, whenever movements originate here, it's small here and it gets bigger here, bigger here, bigger here. And so this would be the fastest, just like a real whip, this would be the fastest moving part of this sequence of events. And your fingertips might actually crack, at super speed. But nonetheless, it's a little stiffer, right? It's more like a riding crop, and ours is just like a riding crop, right? Yeah. So anyways, that's a little note on language and the Chinese characters, looking at the Chinese characters to find more meaning, right? So let's do our form. Okay, here we go. We're not gonna do it from a crazy angle. I'm just gonna start facing west. We will do the transition. I don't want you to forget. No, first we'll do 8, 9, 10, and then we'll do the transition once or twice for those of you who are not even working on this. Okay, so off we go. Okay, so I'm sorry, I just said we'll do the longer version today first, if I remember. Okay, we reviewed this. Now we're into unreviewed section, so just enjoy it. But you probably already know this part anyway. We're just reviewing in detail, just so that you can't say I never told you. Flip up and over. Elbow strikes the heart. Bring the gong. Striking tiger. Uh-oh, you can barely see me. Okay, so this is what we reviewed today. It's pet horse's mom. About little steps. Okay, here's as far as we're gonna go. And boom. Oh, we get to end in a really good spot. Excellent. Okay, great. B side. There we go. Okay, here's what we reviewed. Single whip. And then we'll go on. So strike a tiger. Pull and push. Shoulder strike. Draw the bucket from the well. Downward push. This is unfortunate. I didn't know I would be with my back to you. Sorry about that. Okay, so here, this is what we reviewed. Well, this is kind of neat. This is the only angle that you haven't seen this from. Okay, here we go. And as I mentioned, we can stop here, or we're gonna get dragged down. Okay. Yeah, let's see. Okay. Well, that'll suffice, because remember, we're gonna review. So let's do the version with the transition, just for fun, and I'm just gonna start at a crazy angle. We'll start with the B side and transition into the A. No. We'll start with the A side, because I think, remember, as we've always said, there is an option of people who are only studying the A side. That's acceptable too, as long as you make it a conscious choice, right? Because I know there's some people out there, their A side's real good and their B side's real sketchy. That's okay too, all right? But it would be better just to actually make a conscious choice about it. And it can't hurt to know what the B side's doing. You just don't have to memorize it. Okay, the transition. That's right. Aha. Excellent. Now we're on the B side. We reviewed this. Here. And then here. So, remember that if we were going to go on, we'd go here. But if we were going to transition, we'd go to 7 stars. Yeah, good. And we'd be back on the A. Okay, good. Enough form. Okay, great. Great. Good work. Review that. You can review that on your own. And it's helpful to review it on your own, every couple days. It's a small segment, right? But we will also review it in the next video. So, let's do our closing Qigong, and then I have a wonderful parable for you. It's longer than most. You may have heard it before. Okay, so it relates to horses. Since this set had a lot of horses in it, just about every horse I could think of. I left a couple out, but so it's hang on. Keep going. Let me be over here. Forgot the Chinese. This is known as Sai Wang Shima, or the story of the farmer. Probably heard it, but stay with me. I have an additional part that even I had never heard before. So, Sai Wang Shi Ma. So, Sai Wang was a farmer along the Chinese border, and one day his prized mare ran away. His neighbor came by and had heard about this, and he said, "What bad luck?" And Sai Wang said, "Maybe, maybe not. We'll see." That's also the alternate title of this story. Some people call it "Maybe, maybe not. We'll see." So the neighbor says, "Bad luck." Sai Wang says, "Maybe, maybe not. We'll see." A few days later, the prized mare returns and has, I'm sorry, did I say a prized mare? I meant a prized stallion. The prized stallion returns with a beautiful mare, and the neighbor sees and says, "What great luck." And Sai Wang says, "Maybe, maybe not. We'll see." So Sai Wang's son has the task of breaking the beautiful mare, because it's a wild mare. And while breaking the mare, he breaks his leg. He gets thrown and breaks his leg. The neighbor sees, comes by in the evening, says, "Bad luck." And as you guessed it, Sai Wang says, "Maybe, maybe not. We'll see." So how could a broken leg not be bad luck? Well, the emperor's guard comes by, and they are recruiting all able-bodied young men for a fruitless and unwinnable war. But they can't take Sai Weng's son with them because he has a broken leg. And usually the story ends there, and the meaning is obvious, that the bad luck turned into good luck. But let's do one more of these, and then I'll end with a little bit more. So I'm going to stop and just meditate. So I heard a version of this in a lecture by Alan Watts. And he says, it goes on. And the neighbor says, the neighbor questions how he cannot assign judgments to these occurrences. And Sai Weng replies, I let my ears hear, I let my eyes see, I let my feet move, I let my mind think, and then my bodily existence seems to melt, to become transparent and without weight. And it's just amazing. I don't know where Alan Watts got that, but it's a really wonderful thing. So it totally applies to our Tai Chi practice in so many ways, especially in the two-person form. Whenever you think you've gained the advantage, you realize that your advantage is going to be gone in the next movement. And it's just, the analogy just continues and continues and continues, and it may actually it applies to everything, you guys. So thank you so much for joining me. You guys are great, and I really appreciate that you watch the videos, and I appreciate your support and your interest, and we will see you in the next video, probably a week, maybe a little longer. Anyway, we'll see you. Thank you very much.